You're watching National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasts, 70 shows, and a 3.5-star rating on Roku TV. Check out nessp.info for direct links and deals on the site BetUs for 125% off your first three deposits in NFL and college odds for upcoming games, Major League Baseball and NBA futures, and boxing wagers. Also, check out Fanatics, sportswear for your favorite teams, and also network merchandise, retro, Northeast Streaming Sports, National Streaming Sports, Big Football, and the Mac and Jack Sports Show t-shirts. Coffee mugs are coming soon. Check it out. The Big Football Show every Sunday at 8 a.m. on Roku at 4 p.m. Yes, how we doing today? It's Football Sunday. We're ready. I'm your host, Mac, with your co-host, J Train, James Martin, and Jack Hirsch. We're going to bring you the best football show on the air today. And before we get started, this is brought to you by, of course, BetUs, Fanatics. Check out that big code up there at the top right screen. Scan it with your phone, brings you right to BetUs to make some of them bets today on the games and Monday night. So, folks, here's producer Linda with the NFL News.
Now it's time for NFL News on the Big Football Show. Hi, everyone. The Dallas Cowboys beat the New York Giants 20-15 as Dak Prescott continues his dominance. Hassan Reddick says he wouldn't mind being traded back to the Eagles. Tyler Huntley could get start for Miami with Skylar Thompson having injured ribs. The Vikings only have taken 5 offensive snaps while trailing the other team. TJ Watt, in his 5 career starts versus the Colts, has had 5.5 sacks, 4 tackles for a loss, 15 tackles, and 2 forced fumbles. Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts leads the NFL with 6 turnovers. The Jaguars are the only team not to force a turnover, and quarterback Trevor Lawrence has lost 8 straight games. Last win versus the Texans. Arizona Cardinals QB Kyler Murray will face his former head coach Cliff Kingsbury and had a very tenuous relationship with him. Deshaun Watson has posted the worst QB rating of all 29 starting quarterbacks. The Ravens, who have the worst pass defense in AFC, goes up against the number 1 quarterback in the league, Josh Allen. And that's your NFL news.
Yes, it is. So we also got an injury report for you guys, too, that we're going to get to right now. So in case you guys are making those bets, here comes the injury report. This is as of yesterday. Detroit All-Pro center Frank Ragnow out. Eagles A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, and wide receiver Brian Covey are out. Washington running back Austin Eckler is out. Defensive end Chelin Carroll is out. We have George Kittle in. Debo and Trent Williams did practice. We'll see if they make it in or not. Nick Chubb is eligible. Devontae Adams for the Raiders is out. Jordan Love and Herbert are questionable. So, folks, that's your injury report right now. And before we bring in Keith Engel, I got a special intro for him. I know he knows about it, but y'all don't. So let's go ahead and play. Keith Engel, the guy with the sports talk show on the internet. He's the guy that we all know. If you love your sports, he's the guy for you. He has lots of shows on Roku. Keith Engel with the TGI Sports Talk Show. There it is. I don't know what the hell that song is, but we got it, and we played it. This is the only host that we actually have a song for, Keith.
I'm honored, and whoever was vocalizing that, which I know who it is. Don't quit your day job is all I'm saying.
Yes. So anyway,
but I'm humbled. I'm humbled to have my own jingle.
Yes. He has his own jingle. Of course, it was highly produced, as you could tell. With the music and everything involved in there. So anyway, good morning to Rich Sherlock. Glad to have you aboard. So, Pete, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get to the college. But before we get to that, I want to get your 3 picks. Had a good week last week. Went 2-1. You're climbing out of the bottom, and I filled your slot for you. So go ahead and give me your 3 picks for this week. My
picks put me on the spot because I never remember when I send them early. If I make them now, I know what the hell they are. I have Atlanta. You'll have to give me the spreads because I don't remember. But I take Atlanta. I think getting will they give it a point or getting a point? I'm not sure.
Oh.
I will take them. I'll take Detroit.
Yes.
And I'll take the Colts at home.
You will take the Colts at home. So he has Atlanta -1 versus New Orleans, Detroit -3.5 at Seattle, and Indianapolis +1 at Pittsburgh. Keith, we have a game for the Patriots coming up here against San Francisco. George Kittle is playing. Debo and Trent Williams both practice. We don't know if they're going to play or not. I had no information on that, but they did both practice on the field. Brock Purdy is definitely going. 10.5 points, Keith. This is your chance to really maybe upset one of the Super Bowl favorites in the beginning of the year here. But, of course, the Patriots have been sacked. The quarterback was set 10 times in the last 2 games.
Yeah, the offensive line has showed us what a sieve they are for certain. And the Patriots have kind of regressed from their week 1. That was the blueprint for how them to win games. They can't get into shootouts with people. And you saw that with the Jets last week. And there's just not enough weapons or protection for the quarterbacks here. And I do not I can always find one little perfect storm scenario where my team can pull out a game. I'm still looking for it today. I'll let you know if I find it by 4:00 because this team's going to have a tough day today, I'm afraid.
I pretty much think you're right, but I don't think anybody picked against them or with them. I think everybody stayed away from that pick just because of the injuries.
Yeah.
Good morning to Rick Sherlock, of course. Carlton K. Canteen from NBA also is in this morning.
Carlton, I'm in now. They're out. That's all I needed. I'm good. Patriots win. Huge upset today.
All right, cool. So a lot of things happened in college yesterday. Some a big upset. Let's start with that. Kentucky, Keith. I mean, 20-17, 243 yards for the quarterback Vandegrift, 1 touchdown for that touchdown. No points for Ole Miss in the 4th quarter.
Yeah, Kentucky's been very Jekyll and Hyde this year. They've been very bad or very good. They got beat by South Carolina by 20-something at home. Then they come back and almost beat Georgia at home. And yesterday they controlled a very potent. I think Ole Miss had to be averaging about 50 points a game coming into this game against inferior competition, yes. But Kentucky just held this team and Jackson Dart, a major Heisman contender, in pretty good control. And Ole Miss misses a field goal at the end of the game to potentially force overtime. So not a good loss. I mean, here's the thing. 1 loss in the SEC is not going to kill any one of these teams that we're going to talk about right now. 2 losses is a big something different, and they've still got to play some big games ahead. Not a good loss for Ole Miss for sure.
So Virginia Tech loses on an overturn on the last play of the game, Keith. He caught the ball in the end zone. I thought the rule was if you have possession of the ball in the end zone, once you pass the goal line, it's a touchdown. They overruled it, and they ended up losing the game.
Are we talking about?
Yeah, guys, I saw the end of that game, and isn't it supposed to be conclusive evidence
Yes.
overturn. And when they have to keep playing the replay over and over again and taking some, 10 to 15 minutes to decide, that can't be conclusive. And we're still debating it a little bit. There's still doubt whether he made the catch or not. So I think the spirit of the rule has to be changed. I mean, if it's conclusive evidence, then it shouldn't have been overturned.
I agree 100%. And as a Hurricane fan, in total transparency, sitting there with my wife, who we totally disagreed at the end of this game, I will tell you this. I don't think he caught the ball and took it to the ground. There's zero, but they called it a touchdown. That's the key to this play. And as Jack said, there was nothing that I saw in watching that for 5 or 10 minutes that convinced me he didn't. There was a blurred shot from looking into the end zone, but you really couldn't see. I couldn't tell whether it was arms or ball or what. The ball came out at the end, but from every other angle I saw, his butt hit the ground before the ball came out. So,
well, Keith, if you dive past the pylon and put the ball in the end zone and fumble the ball after you hit that out of bounds, it's a touchdown.
Well, again, this has been a problem in the NFL and college forever. A catch one place is not a catch somewhere else, and that's ridiculous, right? As you said, if you're running the ball and stick it over there and it gets knocked out, well, that's a touchdown, right?
Well, remember that call with Megatron years ago in the NFL game.
And Des Bryant as well.
Yes.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of them in the NFL and obviously a bunch in college. And this is a very controversial. The referees had a very bad night, by the way, because Virginia Tech ran about a 70-yard, 65-yard touchdown in the third quarter. That a hold was brought back on a hold, and all the guy did was push the guy over. He didn't hold him. They had a tough night. And you know how I feel about referees and not letting yourself get beat by referees, but referees they've got to do something. And I mean, both, I think, college and the pros, the referee has been very inconsistent, to be kind.
I agree. So
Virginia Tech, tough loss.
Oklahoma State, the Kansas quarterback throws for 3 touchdowns, runs for 2. I mean, they just dominate Oklahoma State, Keith. Oklahoma State was just pretty much taken apart.
Yeah, Oklahoma State shot themselves in the foot a bunch of times. They had long drives in the first half, 3 or 4 times, and came away with 3 points. Their defense did not play well; couldn't get off the field. This was a big game in the Big 12. Both of these teams came in with a loss already, and it's going to be very difficult for Oklahoma State. They can fight back to get into that Big 12 championship game, but it's going to be hard because BYU's playing well now. That K-State's got a game on them if they should tie. So it's going to be very difficult. That Big 12, I think, is going to be wide open. Utah lost last night, as you may or may not get to. So it's going to be that's why the ACC and the Big 12. There's going to be chaos as we approach these conference championship games in a couple of months.
Notre Dame quarterback Riley Leonard goes 17 of 23, 2 touchdowns, rushes for a touchdown. Good game. Notre Dame at Louisville, Keith.
Right, this is a good win for Notre Dame. Louisville's a good football team, a really good defense, maybe the best defense that Notre Dame's played, and they put up 35, if I'm not mistaken, or 34, which I think was impressive. And it appears the coaching staff, which I have lost all confidence in, has learned at least how to use Riley Leonard. Don't let him just sit in the pocket all day. Get him out, move him around. And that's what they've done the last couple of games. And Notre Dame is sneaking their way back up exactly how I said they had to do it. This is one of their last signature wins they have. Maybe USC at the end of the year. But with Florida State losing again, that game won't mean anything. So they need style points in the games they should win, meaning they need to blow teams out. And they need to beat teams like Louisville and probably USC at the end of the year, and they'll have a shot. But they're going to be battling for the last spot in this playoff, whether they go 11-1 or not. Big win.
Whoa, Kate, you're the same guy who picked Notre Dame to win the national championship. We can't let you forget that. Now you say they're hanging on by a thread, basically.
Well, both things can be true, Jack. I did pick them. I said they were going to go undefeated as well. Notre Dame has a very big disadvantage not playing in a conference. They can't go 11-1. Win a conference title and get in. They have to, overperform, or they're not going to get in because they're going to be battling, a potential second place team in the Big 12, a potential second place team in the ACC, and probably a 5th potential team in the SEC. That's who they're going to battle to get in this tournament.
Is there some way that the powers that be could create some wiggle room for them because they are Notre Dame and they're big for TV ratings?
Well, will they give them? Yes, if it's very close, right, for that 12 spot between them and one or two or three other teams, they're going to get a little bit of a lift because they're Notre Dame. Yes, but
So Alabama, Keith, they jump out fast. Georgia comes roaring back, but in the end, Jalen Milroe, 374 yards, 2 touchdowns, rushes for 117 yards and 2 touchdowns. We were talking before the show. Is this the new Heisman, favorite?
Jalen Milroe and I think Cam Ward are both probably neck and neck right now, I would say. But Milroe looks like the best player right now in the country. And Travis Hunter had a nice day yesterday too, by the way. So he's still going to be in play. Did the little Heisman, the Desmond Howard Heisman pose yesterday. This is a great game, by the way. It should have been over. It's 28-0. I think it was at the half. I think it was 30. I want to say it was 33, or maybe it's 33-0 at the half. I'm not sure. But Georgia goes back and takes the lead in this game. They had fought back. We get into the fourth quarter with about 4 minutes left, and they throw a bomb 80 yards in one play drive. And then Alabama comes back with Milroe, as you said, and just one-ups them with a one-play drive of their own, and that kind of took the wind out of the sails. But Georgia did take the ball down at the end and took an interception in the end zone to end this sucker. So, look at Georgia played horrendous, as bad as a team can play in that first half. And Carson Beck was terrible, but Carson Beck was just as good in the second half as he was bad in the first half. And I give Georgia credit for not rolling over here and fighting back in this game. This won't hurt either one of these teams. They're both going to the playoff.
The perception that Alabama's still Saban's team to a degree with the carryover players. So if they're successful, it'll be thought they won with Saban's team.
Maybe. I mean, you can see little differences in the way they run this offense than the way they did under Saban. And there's going to be that perception. I followed social media a little bit last night while I'm watching the game, and some guys are commenting. And every time they put a shot on Nick Saban, he was writing things down, and they're commenting that we know Nick's still running this team and sending plays down. It's just nonsense. It's still a good football team. They got a really good football coach to replace the GOAT. And look at that right now.
But is that really that far-fetched? Look at Coach K at Duke. After stepping down, he was still very much involved, having the coaches there. Having his hand-picked successor.
There's a difference between being involved in running the show, right? He's not running the show. Nor was Coach K. He was there helping his successor. His name is escaping me right now. Skyler. It'll come to me when we're off the air. But yes, I mean they're always going to be there to help out when they're needed, and I think that's important that they do so because you need that transition. But Alabama looks great. I mean, they can make a case for being number one in the country right now. I mean, they're playing great football.
They sure could. UNLV without the starting quarterback, they roll with the backup. This should tell people. I mean, I know the quarterback position is very important in both pro and in college, but you got to have a good team. And I think UNLV has a good team. This quarterback comes in and even plays better than the guy that's sitting out for the season in his first game.
Yeah, they're one of their top running backs also left for different reasons. I think that might be more important to this team than the quarterback, actually. And I'm glad they were able to put just to bed a little bit, I think, the whole chatter about this, because UNLV's got a really good team, one of the most pro teams in the country, and they've got a real shot at the playoff in that Group of Five selection. But there's a really good team that I think is going to get that. I think Boise State is the front runner for that slot. They're playing really good football.
Okay. So we turn to Penn State. Penn State wins 21-7 over Illinois. The running back over there, Katrin Allen, for 103 yards. I mean, the quarterback's good. He's not a professional quarterback, I don't think, anyway, unless I'm missing something. But the offense of Penn State is maybe a little bit better than it's been in the last couple of years.
It is better. He's better at getting the ball down the field, Alar. But I don't know that he's a pro prospect, as you said. But again, talking about college, it's okay to say you're a really good college quarterback and you don't make it in the pros. Look at Penn State's always good. They got to go out and beat a top 10 team, and they got to beat Michigan. They got to beat Ohio State, which I think they only have one on the schedule this year. and then they got to get to the Big Ten team or Big Ten championship game, and then beat Ohio State there. And Franklin has proved so far he can't do that.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting. This team is a good team, but you got to beat somebody else that's good at some point.
Speaking of Michigan, they hold off. They hold off Minnesota. Listen, they got a running game, and Michigan uses it, and their defense is good. And I mean, I don't think Michigan's going to be in the playoffs, well, at least in the championship, Keith. But they're still playing good ball.
They are playing good ball, and they had a little hangover, I think, yesterday from the big USC win a week before, and but they managed to get a win. And I think they're playing better than I expected them to play, at least to this point. And they're going to be alive for that second spot in the Big Ten as well. I think that spot's going to be wide open after seeing Oregon struggle somewhat, at least early in the season. I thought they were a shoo-in. I thought it would be Ohio State and Oregon were the class of this conference. Now I think that second spot could be wide open between a few teams. And Michigan might put themselves in that spot.
Very true. Colorado, I guess Keith and Jack here, as far as comes to predicting the Colorado Buffaloes, is just wrong. I mean, Colorado wins again, 48-21. Sanders 28 for 35, 290 yards, 3 touchdowns for Sanders. Of course, they're great defensive back there, still playing some really good ball for him on the defensive side.
Did I miss you picking them to win 8 or 9 games? Did I miss that? We all Page's team was not a very good team. I still think they'll fall apart, but I will say this team was a 14.5-point underdog yesterday.
Yes.
And they made the game fun. So this is again, I think the odds makers were a little falling asleep on this game. It should never have been 14.5. But look at they got 2 of the best players in the country, and if they can get those guys and keep Shedeur Sanders from getting killed behind that horrible offensive line, they can be exciting at times. But I don't think there's enough at the line or on the defense to win a lot of games. I just don't.
We said that every week, and Jack's 3 win picks is just out the window right now. So anyway,
who has a better chance? Colorado winning the national championship, or the Carolina Panthers winning the Super Bowl? If you had to say one.
Oh my God, neither. But I mean, I would believe it or not, I would say the Carolina Panthers have a better shot of winning the Super Bowl than Colorado has a win in the next.
There you go. Keith is just getting stubborn now. Keith gets this way sometimes, folks. Good morning, Excalibur. Good morning, Paul. Glad to have you both aboard. So let's talk a little bit about Arch Manning with 324 yards, 2 touchdowns. Of course, the running game of Texas and the defense are all around. Everybody's saying, well, Alabama should be number 1. I think Texas might have something to say about that.
No, I think Texas will stay number 1. Don't get me wrong. I just say Alabama's starting to make a case. You'll see them get more first place votes this week, obviously, beating Georgia, who is just ahead of them. Texas is the best team in the country until they're not. They got to get beat. This SEC, though, this new SEC, I mean, every week there's just a list of great games. I mean, Georgia, I said Georgia's in a playoff, and maybe they won't be because they've still got Ole Miss left. They've got Texas left, and they've got who else do they have on top?
Tennessee.
I'm sorry?
Tennessee,
yeah. All at least, well, Mississippi will fall out of the top 10 this week probably, but still. That's a pretty good run of games right there. So Georgia's got a tough road to hoe. Everybody does in the SEC. There's no cakewalks here.
Yeah, I heard UConn might be tough for Georgia this year too, as they blow out Buffalo. Win last week for them, and UConn all of a sudden is throwing up 44, 45 points a game, Keith.
I heard the SEC is in talks with UConn to actually disband their NCAA football team. That's what
I heard that too, but I wasn't going to break that. I'll let you break those college's big stories, Keith. Navy and Army both undefeated. Who knows? Maybe it's a championship there, Keith. I don't know. Air Force won again. I mean, listen, the schools are playing great.
I love following the military schools and Army, Navy. Listen, I say this here all the time. Jeff Monken, one of the most underrated coaches in the country, does a great job at our Army. if one of these teams were to run the table somehow, they won't. Army and maybe both have Notre Dame, and they're probably both going to lose, but can't sleep on them. If they were to somehow run the table, have one loss, theoretically, they could get ranked 24, 25, and be the highest ranked group of 5 winner if one of them wins the AAC, and you could see them in the playoff. Not likely, not going to happen, right? But in theory, this could happen now. You could see one of the military schools in this 12-team playoff. Maybe not this year, but another year. It's fun to watch them be good. Football's better when these teams are good. We always talk about every sports is better when teams are good. College football's better when Notre Dame's good, but it's also better when the military schools are good and can go in and give the Notre Dames of the world a game. So, I'm happy for them.
Me too, Keith. BYU holds off Baylor in the second half. Jake Retzlaff, 2 touchdowns, thrown, 1 TD run. Baylor's Sawyer Robinson has 324 yards passing, but had them 2 interceptions. I always, when I turn on BYU, I see the Y and I think Yale's playing, Keith. So I stop for a minute and watch, and I find out it's BYU.
BYU is one of the biggest surprises in the country this year. They were picked by a lot of guys to finish last at the Big 12, and they're 5-0 now. And they have, I think, at least 2 conference wins already. So where Oklahoma State has 2 conference losses, BYU is a big surprise, well coached, and hopefully they can continue this for their. It's going to be fun. The Big 12, look at the Big 12 and the ACC are not SEC and Big 10 talent. They don't compare, but they're going to be exciting leagues because everybody can beat everybody on any given week, it appears. So
USC comes from behind again, Keith. I mean, they're never out of the game. These guys are never out of game. You can never get a lead on them and kind of sit back. And I think a lot of schools, as we saw, they start celebrating, especially the players, before they win the game. And I don't know what's going on with college football players today, but it seems to me they're kind of trying to mimic the NFL, celebrating and doing all this stuff that the NFL does, and it's costing them. They're costing them the game.
Yeah, they got to rein that stuff in. USC actually doesn't just come back; they actually run away with the game at the end. I mean, I think they won like 20, right?
Yes.
You can't. Yeah, I didn't think USC is going to have a pretty good year in their first year in the Big Ten, and I think I misread that situation potentially as well. Team's much better than I thought they'd be. Defense has played well. Miller stepped in for Caleb Williams and played pretty well. This is probably Lincoln. This might be Lincoln Riley's best team by the time we're done, which is an odd thing to say with the guys that are gone. Playing better defense makes a big deal. It makes it easier for your offense.
A huge deal. And not throwing interceptions and turning the ball over helps a lot too.
Absolutely.
Folks, Keith Angle will be on with the Stream of Consciousness. He's going over there right now. And Keith, again, thanks for joining us, giving us a college update and a little look at the Patriots and your perspective on the Colorado Buffaloes. We'll see next week if
Five wins. I was a little ahead of Jack. I said 5.
Yeah, I know. So we'll see what happens. Keith, have a great day. Enjoy the game.
Have a good one, guys. Enjoy the games.
All right. And don't worry, folks, I will not play that intro again for Keith. That would probably be the one and only time. So if you did tape it, you have the singing version of Keith Angle. So folks, what we're going to do is we're going to start giving you our top 3. Sonia Pearson is right now. She's getting ready for her midterms for her law bar association exam, I guess is what it is. So I let her take off today. I only gave her a slight fine, which she will appeal as soon as she gets her law license. That will be that. Yes, Jack.
What? I didn't say anything.
Well, when you turn off that mic and start looking down, I know you're
turn off the mic. I mean, I want to be ready. I mean, because you lull me to sleep, Max. So then you can ask me a question. I'll start talking when I realize to put the mic on.
I know that you're going to bring the exciting content.
Max, it's an exception.
No, I'm not going to let you throw a shot at me and just let it go, Jack. I mean, I know you're going to bring exciting content, and that you're right now your trivia answers are probably the best I've ever seen.
I don't, Matt, my trivia answers are going to be as bad as the Carolina Panthers this year. I might get one or two right during the season.
You're going to get this one.
That's about it.
You're going to get this one, though. I guarantee you will get this one.
No, I'm not. That's my weak point. That's football trivia. I know a lot about the players, the teams. I could tell you stories, but no, those trivia questions. I'm never big on records a lot of the time because there's so many variables involved. Well, I hope not. I hope not.
And that is right. James did
I hope he doesn't, Rick.
Okay, so let's start with
one thing quickly. I know it's the big football show, but there's so much good sports news with Karl Anthony Towns coming to the Knicks. The last day of Major.
There you go. When we start going off the big football show, I just mute Jack because we'll talk about that on our show all week, and we got plenty of shows to talk about. Right now, it's all about the NFL. So, Jack, let's stick to the format, please. I know you want to talk about what happened in 1920, in the World Series, but we're not going to do that this show. So anyway, let's get going. Let's get rolling here with our top 3 picks. This is from producer Linda, who's at 3-4 and 2 with her picks. She has Minnesota +3 at Green Bay, Seattle +3.5 at Detroit, and she's taken the Jets. She has become a turncoat. She has threw away her Giant picks, and now she is actually picking with the Jets. And I'm not upset about it. I mean, I think it's okay. I mean, we're still living together at this point. So anyway, that's her picks right now. Sonia, who went 2-1 last week, now 4-4-1. Her picks are Kansas City -7.5 at San Diego, Pittsburgh -1 at the Colts, and Seattle -3.5 at Detroit. A lot of people taking Seattle. What's going on here? I don't know. Maybe they think something's going on with Detroit. So James, you're up next. You went 2-1 last week. I think you moved into second place. You're like a half a point ahead of Sonia right now, behind the Philly sports guy. So why don't you give us your 3 picks and why?
Okay. So I got Pittsburgh -1 at Indy. I just think that Anthony Richardson is a turnover machine. I think Pittsburgh is going to run away with that game. I like the defense too as well of Pittsburgh. The running game, this is going to be key. Jonathan Taylor had 100 yards last week. I think he's going to get stopped. I looked at Dobbins coming into the game against Pittsburgh last week. He was already running up a storm, but they shut him down to like 2.9 per carry. So they're going to shut down Jonathan Taylor as well. And of course, I think he's going to throw the 1 or 2 picks. That's going to be the game.
Okay.
And then I go to Minnesota. Minnesota's just on a tear. I love the coaching in Green Bay. I love the scheme that they're setting, but I think they get stopped this game. I think, is Malik Willis still playing?
No, Jordan Love is probably playing today.
He's probably playing. It's not guaranteed, but I guarantee he's playing. I mean, they didn't come out and say definitely, but I know he's playing this game. There's no
Jordan Love at 50% is better than Malik Willis at 100%. And Malik Willis has done a good job. In fairness to him, he has filled in nicely. Kudos to Malik Willis, but everyone knows there's no question about it. If Jordan Love can take the field, he will.
Absolutely, and I agree with that. But I do believe Minnesota still, the way they're going, their defense is really good. I just don't think, and then surprisingly, I didn't think Aaron Jones was going to be a good player for Minnesota. I didn't think he had anything left. He proved me wrong. And who knows, this might be a revenge game for him as well. He might be motivated. So I think Minnesota's going to win that game. And then I picked New Orleans +1 at Atlanta. It's just a rivalry game. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of injuries in this game right now. I was surprised Derek Carr showed up on the list with a groin. So he's questionable. Chris Olave is questionable with the hamstring. Davis is out. So I was going to change to my picks, but I'm going to stick with them just because I picked them. And I think they have a potential of winning this game because it's just a heated rivalry. So,
especially in New Orleans coming off the loss in which they didn't generate much offense against the Eagles, you would think they'd be a little up for this one.
Right.
I think what's going to hurt New Orleans is the offensive linemen that are hurt. I mean, Carr's going to play, the wide receiver is going to play, and I don't know. It's iffy pick, but it's close, and it is a rival game. Minnesota and Green Bay. Green Bay. Jordan Love beats the blitz 58% of the time, and he's kind of done really well against Minnesota. Of course, you got a new defensive coordinator that's kind of doing a little different thing. So it's going to be interesting to see if Minnesota blitzes and Jordan Love beats it. It's going to be a really interesting game, I think, Minnesota and Green Bay. I don't know who's going to win that.
Yeah, I mean, if Minnesota can keep winning, goes to the playoffs, has a really good year, continues it, my thought would be that Brian Flores would arguably be the hottest head coaching candidate, in the off season. But unfortunately, his background and how he acted before, understandably, would turn a lot of teams off. No one likes to get sued by this guy, figuring I'm going to hire this guy, give him an opportunity, then he's going to sue me if I ever have to fire him. Brian Flores, unfortunately, who's a darn good coach. He's a good head coach, great coordinator. He would be an easy hire for me if I were an owner. I would be a little leery. I'm not sure whether I would hire him or not.
He kind of shot himself in the foot with that, and he may have to.
He really did. He carried it a little too far. Too far.
Yeah. Of course,
one thing about that game before you go any further, the pass defense of the Packers is something to watch against Sam Darnold. They're first in interceptions with 7, so they're ball hawks around there in Green Bay. So that might be a good thing to watch.
Yeah, and not only that, Addison will play today too, just to let you all know. So he's back. So they got one of the key receivers back from Minnesota too.
Yeah, so well balanced on offense for Sam Darnold. I mean, really. I mean, Sam's having a heck of a year, but he has a lot to work with there.
Oh, no doubt. Okay, Jack, we gotta get your picks. You won 1-2 last week. Now 3-5-1. You got a rebound here, Jack.
Yeah. I mean, I won it last year. I came in first place. I anticipate I'll turn it around. I compare myself to the Baltimore Ravens. Sluggish start, not really ready the early weeks. So I'll eventually get there at some point. Hopefully this is the week. If not, then it'll be next week. I'll go with the Bengals, giving the 4.5 points or so to the Panthers. The last week shown for the Panthers, is that a turnaround? Come on, based on one game. I mean, maybe it is a turnaround for them. But it's only one game. Even bad teams have a good game and good teams have a bad game. So they beat the Raiders. But the Bengals, they're 0-3. They absolutely have to win this game. So I don't want to hear that they're going to take the Panthers lightly. The Bengals have to be up for this game. And I can't see them winning anything but decisively in this game. I'm going to take the Browns, actually, to edge out the Raiders. Max Crosby, I believe he's out, which is going to hamper, the Raider pass rush. And Deshaun Watson just has to play well. This is a game for Deshaun Watson, so let's see if he finally shows up. I mean, the Cleveland fans are kind of caught in the middle. They're not happy with him, how he's performed. But if he performs dreadfully in this game, you're going to really be hearing the voices getting loud, calling for Jameis Winston to replace him. So Deshaun Watson has an opportunity to quiet the Cleveland fan base, and keep them at arm's distance. If he can't do it in a game like this on the road against the Raiders, that'll be a problem. So I'll take Cleveland, with what is it, 1 point? Basically it's an even money game. And I'll take the Ravens. It's a bit of a bold move. I mentioned it a little while ago. With the 2.5, giving the 2.5 points, I believe it is, to Buffalo, meaning that if they win by a field goal, the Ravens then would cover in that game. Ravens got to show up. This is a big game. I think we are overrating this Buffalo Bill team by a little bit. They're a very good team. They played very well so far. Think back to the preseason. None of us were touting them this highly in the preseason. So they get off to a good start and, going a little crazy about them because they annihilated a messed up Jacksonville Jaguar who probably has a lot more problems than we realized at the time. A Jaguar team that even lost to the Dolphins, who've been struggling big time in the other two games. I think it's a heck of a matchup, and I think this comes down. Lamar Jackson, this is a showcase game for him. I know it's for Josh Allen too. Sunday night football. Ravens badly needed in Baltimore. I think it's going to be a tough game. I think it's going to be a very close game, but I have to feel that the Ravens can cover by the field goal, win it.
Baltimore's only giving up 1 point, so they don't even have to. All they have to do is win by 2 points. I think you're a little off on Buffalo being that we're making a big deal out of them. I think Buffalo's an excellent team this year. I think
they're a good team, but I don't think they're the powerhouse we're making them out to be. They don't have the weapons, really.
Their defense is way underrated. And again, Baltimore has one of the worst pass defenses in the league. It just, to me, I mean, I'm not saying it ain't going to happen, Jack, because I think Baltimore is a very good team too. I think it's going to be a very good game, as you said. But I don't think
Buffalo's a good team. They'll be there at the end of the season as a wild card, getting edged out by the Jets for the division title. They'll be in the playoffs as a wild card. They're a good team.
I knew there was a Jets angle in there somewhere.
Pags
right now, he's first place 5-3-1. If he gets in, we'll have him tell him about his picks. I know he's down in Tampa Bay. I'm not even sure if he's at the game or not. I think they're playing. I know there was a hassle. People getting in and out of the game. So he is in Tampa. I know that. And we'll see if he pops in later or not. David, thank you for joining us this morning. So now we get to the worst handicapper and the show. And I don't know what to say, folks. I mean, I'm just terrible. I'm terrible. I went 0 for 3 last week. 0 for 3. I am 1, 4, and 4. I have 1 win and 8 other things. I mean, I can't even get the pushes this year, folks. I'm going to come back. I know I've got to come back. I mean, this is awful. This is awful. Anyway, I'm taking Pittsburgh -1 at Indy 2. I think Pittsburgh will stop their running game. And as you said, James, very eloquently, listen, can't hit the barn if he was standing in front of it with anything. I mean, the guy is very inconsistent. Good run, but so is the quarterback on the other side. He's a pretty good running quarterback too. I think Pittsburgh has no problem at all with Indianapolis. I'm going with Jack Cincinnati. What? I mean, Carolina wins 1 game, and we're talking about look at this. They're turning it around. They still got the worst offense in the league, folks. Even with that big game by Andy Dalton, who will probably fall back to what Andy Dalton is. I mean, listen. I love the guy. He's out there doing his thing. Was a good quarterback. Wasn't a great one, but he's an improvement over Bryce Young. But the Panthers are still not that good. And I'm going with the Bills. I'm going opposite you there, Jack. I love the Bills this week. I think if it comes down to Lamar Jackson versus Josh Allen, I'll take Josh Allen any day of the week. So that's all the reason why I'm going with that. So especially in the end of the game.
That's a nice debate. I heard that the other day on ESPN. And if you had your choice, I mean, who would you say is a better quarterback? Who would you take, Lamar Jackson or Josh Taylor? Now, we tend to think about what the guy's done for us lately, the last 1, 2, or 3 weeks, okay? But to me, I would give a little edge to Lamar Jackson over Josh Taylor, but everyone at ESPN, they took Josh Taylor because that's the popular pick at the moment because he seems to be doing it all for Buffalo. And the perception is Lamar Jackson has more weapons with the Ravens and Josh Allen has less with the Bills. And maybe that's true. But you give me the greatest running quarterback of all time. That's Lamar Jackson, the greatest running quarterback in the history of the NFL. I'm talking about gain yardage, take off, make plays.
If I had to go off of how they're playing right now, I would go with Josh Allen.
I know that. I agree. But we change week to week.
Well,
you can't be influenced on 2-3 weeks over career.
If you look up the stats of the career, Josh Allen has thrown for more yardage than Jackson has. So if you look up the stats of the careers,
Two
Josh Allen is from-
MVPs for Lamar Jackson, none for Josh
Jack,
Allen.
you know, that's so. See to
Well,
me,
that's-
MVP.
But one
I
could
don't
say,
care about MVPs. What does MVP mean? What does that really mean during a regular
yeah,
season?
those are
What does that
past awards. One could say that Josh Allen is an MVP candidate right now because he's working with less. I think he's working with less than what's happening in Baltimore. He is working with less, and he's doing a lot more.
You can keep your MVPs. MVPs don't mean nothing because every starting quarterback on every team is probably an MVP unless you have that outlier running back or something like that. You would say right now Sam Darnold's the MVP of the NFC, wouldn't you? Couldn't you say that? Good.
You could throw his name into discussion, even though I don't know what.
MVP.
Keep this in mind, guys. Last year, we heard a lot of complaints about Josh Allen, all the mistakes he was making, to this, to that, how he had to correct himself. Only 3 games into the darn season, and let's not get carried away yet.
I agree there too, as well. And I think Lamar probably will. He's usually a late finisher, so.
Listen,
Except for the playoffs.
I think Lamar Jackson is one of the best football players offensively. Well, he can change a game. And when he starts winning the games at the end is when I'll start saying, okay, this is Lamar Jackson. And I was come of age. Until he does that, I can't
Well,
say
he's done that. He's won games at the end. He's had some legendary comebacks in the past.
I haven't seen him win a championship yet, Jack. And I haven't, and I just and if it's not because of the team, it's because of interceptions he throws at the end. He's kind of the reason why they lost last year because he threw a couple interceptions, got a little crazy. I just think that we'll see. He's got to learn to calm down. He's got to go to some kind of anger management course or something. They've got to get him involved in some kind of
management.
Yes, he needs to calm
down. Lamar Jackson. They know that anger management.
Yeah, I have to disagree with that.
I think he needs to learn to relax because he doesn't. At the end of the game, he gets too hyped up and he makes mistakes. And that's
last year, keep in mind, he lost his great tight end, Mark Andrews. So
come on. And KC lost half their wide receiving crew, too. I mean, come on. Let's be honest. Right?
Patrick Mahomes is the best. No argument there.
No, he's not playing like the best this year so far. That's for sure.
Especially with our fantasy points. I'm going to talk about that when we get an opportunity.
Oh, and we're going to get to that. We are definitely going to talk about our fantasy teams. But first, folks, with the bit you all wait for, because what we have here, it's not coming up anymore. It's Just Ask Jack. Just Ask Jack trivia brought to you by.
We're having a contest. Who's going to get more right? Me or the Carolina Panthers this year? And they're up on me. They're up one. Did I get a half of one right, like a tie? Yes. I think I got a tie. I got a half. You have a half of one.
You have a half of one.
So that's like a tie game. Yeah, so I'm a half game behind the Panthers.
Right. Yes, you are a half game. This time, Jack, I am going to give you one. I'm throwing you one. You've got to know this. There's no way you don't know this. So let's go ahead. Let's put our music on. Okay, Jack. This is your trivia question. What was the lowest scoring Super Bowl game ever, Jack? Now, I know you know this. But we got to wait for it. You got to wait till after the commercials to let Jack just come back and maybe second guess himself.
I think I got this one.
I think you do. Yes. So here we go. That is a trivia question that we have there right now. And once we get back from our commercial break here, Jack will give us the answer to what is the lowest scoring Super Bowl ever. So we'll be right back.
I think I got it.
National Streaming Sports is brought to you in part by BetUs.com, designed for true fans. NFL odds, Week 1 and futures, college football odds, including Heisman Trophy favorites and playoff odds, NBA odds of division winners and playoffs, Major League Baseball playoff and World Series odds, the National Hockey League Conference playoffs and Stanley Cup odds, and boxing wagers. Betting opportunities include versus the spreads and outright winners, also during the game. Use our link on our website, nessp.info, the Bet Us Opportunities webpage for a 125% bonus on your first 3 deposits. Must be 21 years old. And remember, bet responsibly. I'm Mac McGrath, CEO of National Streaming Sports, and I'm excited to tell you about our Roku Sports channel. Already has over 12,000 followers, 20 podcasts, over 70 weekly shows, and a 3.4-star rating. Our channel is anchored by great morning shows, afternoon shows, and nighttime shows with great shows in between. Specialized shows with our experts in all sports. To get National Streaming Sports on Roku TV, channel search National Streaming Sports, tap on our logo. On laptop, tablet, or mobile phone, download the free Roku app, channel search, tap on our logo. For smart TV, order the Roku device from the Roku store, hook it up to your TV, channel search National Streaming Sports, and tap on the logo. NFL download with the MacMan and J-Train.
13 when he took over. So 1 year wouldn't have been enough.
And he went down. And he went down 1-15. And he went down to 1-15. And then if he didn't get that draft, who knows what he would have been? And Tom Landry would have never been the coach of the Cowboys. He got worse. He got worse. He got worse. The team got worse under him in the beginning.
The first year.
The first wrong thing you're saying. The first wrong thing you're saying is them. The Raiders are ready to win. Ready to win what? What are the Raiders ready to win?
They're
going to win the division? They're going to beat the Kansas City Chiefs?
Wait. They did.
They're going to beat the Baltimore Ravens in a playoff?
Wait.
He's a football coach. He's a leader of guys that are knocking each other's heads off. What is he supposed to tell you? Sing kumbaya and hold hands and just sit around and play duck, duck, goose? I mean, what are you supposed to do? It's football, man. I mean, he's trying to motivate you, and he really didn't want him. I agree with you. He didn't want him. But that's not his guy. I mean, this is a business. So, I mean, I'm telling you, like, look, you're not the guy that I want. I mean, I don't think you're good. I think you're not the right person for this team. Man up and say, okay, maybe I am the man for this team. I don't.
NFL download. Your first look at Sunday.
Hello, this is Paul Semendinger, award-winning author and the host of the Dr. Sem Yankee Show and the Start Spreading the News podcast. And you are watching The Big Football Show, the very best football show in the entire world. And it's here on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network. Enjoy.
For the plug, thanks for the bumper. And now, here we go. This is the question of all questions. Jack, what is the lowest scoring Super Bowl ever?
Yeah, there's always a fear that the obvious answer isn't the obvious answer. I know there was a low one years ago, but this isn't my answer because it's not the lowest one, where the Steel Curtain beat the Vikings 16-6. But a lowest score was Tom Brady's last Super Bowl victory with the New England Patriots, what they beat the Rams like 13-3. So what was that, 16 total points in the game? Unless I'm missing something here, I'm just doing this off the top of my head, would be New England over the Rams.
Correct, 100% correct. And of course, it caused the trade for Jared Goff going to the Detroit Lions. And
yeah, good point.
Yeah, and and the Rams, of course, they went ahead and won with Stafford. So
Stafford,
Goff,
yeah.
And now Goff is maybe in that position. We'll see what happens with that. That is totally correct, Jack. I knew you'd get this one. I knew it. I said, listen, I got to
get. It's easy to miss ones like that. It's easy to miss ones. Yeah.
I got to get you on a roll going again. And I just got to get that confidence, like in the second
now
half.
The Panthers the Carolina Panthers under pressure to win today to keep a half game ahead of me. That's what I'm competing against. I have a feeling neither of us are going to win too much this year.
They listen. They do. They have pressure now. I mean, we have division games too that we got to consider. I don't know if you're in the Carolina division this year or not, Jack, but we got total points, all that stuff. We got to probably have to break it down at the end of the year. I mean, we might have to. Well, anyway. So let's get to the rest of our picks, and then of course we'll talk fantasy. We got news to get to. We'll see if the Philly sports guy gets in, but let's get to the rest of our picks. So some games people just stayed away from, and this was one of them. Arizona -3.5 in Washington. Is it because we don't know about Washington yet or Arizona yet? I mean, Arizona looks like it could be good. Washington's is a young team. They might be good. They may be just, they had a couple of good games. And I mean, I think this is a really tough game to handicap, guys. What do you think, James? I mean, if you had a gun pointing to your head right now, and it was Arizona, as Linda mentioned, going up against his old head coach, Kingsbury, over there on the sideline, a Washington offensive coordinator. I mean, there's got to be a little bad blood there. They had bad blood when they were, when he was there. I mean, does Kyle Murray pick it up a notch, or does Washington just keep up their winning way?
Well, if I had a gun pointing to my head, football would be the last thing on my mind. I'd be checking my Huggies to see if they're clean or not. But I would say that I don't know. I'd have to give the experience, and I mean, give my pick over to the experience of Arizona. But I really like what's happening in Washington. I mean, the kid, Jaden Daniels, looks good. He looks the part. It's early, but I think it could be closer than people think. I don't know. Vegas, they seem to have it right the first few games with a lot of teams. They may have it right here, but I would give the edge to Arizona just off experience and how they've been playing. They're a little up and down, but they look good. It was against some pretty good teams. So
it's at Washington, Jack. And I mean, listen, this is finally the Washington fans have something to cheer about. They got a young rookie quarterback, but 2-1 right now. And, Arizona's coming in. Washington's defense, Jack, is my biggest question here. That's my biggest question.
Yeah, I think the Washington fan base, if they get more out of this season, if they make a playoff run, they'll be ecstatic. I think they're in the position that Arizona was in last year, kind of a bit of a rebuild. They're very excited, Washington, about Jaden Daniels, the other players. Everything is coming together. They're thinking of the future, basically. I think with Arizona, the future is more like now. Not that they're necessarily expected to make the playoffs, but they can't have another 4-13 type season. They just can't do it. Drafting Marvin Harrison Jr., Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray can't get outplayed by Jaden Daniels in a game like this. It'll really kind of make him look bad. As far as the perceived feud, Kingsbury, and Murray, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I will say this. If you get let go from a job as a head coach and your main player didn't come through for you, didn't perform as well as you thought he could, even though there might not be personal friction there, you take it personal. You kind of feel that he cost you your job in a way because he didn't perform well enough for you to hold on to your job there. How well he knows Murray's tendencies is going to be a question mark too. Sometimes we overrate things like that, but Arizona, I think, should win this game. I think we're getting a little carried away against Washington because they had that great comeback beating the Bengals. But keep in mind, the week before against the Giants, 7 field goals. They didn't score touchdowns. I don't want to hear that Jaden Daniels is this new sensation yet, even though I think Washington's found their franchise quarterback.
Yeah, I think they have, Jack. I really do. Listen, I mean, Washington, you saw Cincinnati put all those, and this is the Bengals, right? The Bengals are going to put up a lot of points on most teams. Not all teams, but most teams. I don't know. I think this game is so even in certain aspects. I think Kyle Murray was really a bad team player when Kingsbury was there. I really do. I don't think he took anything seriously. I think he does now. For some reason, this head coach, this offensive coordinator has got him going. I think the running games are similar. I think Washington's got a good running game. I think Arizona's got a good running game. The defense is the only question I have, and I don't know if that's enough for Arizona to win by the points. That's my biggest conundrum here, right? I think Arizona wins, but do they win by 3.5 points? I don't know. So I'm going to just go opposite you guys, and I'm going to take. Listen, I'll take. I was going to take Arizona. I'm going to take Washington with the points, just with the 3.5, and maybe who knows? Maybe Arizona kills them, but I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take Washington with 3.5 points.
Okay, let me ask you guys this. Do you think a player like Marvin Harrison is noticing what Malik Nabers is doing for the Giants and even the Arizona coaching staff and thinking, he was picked ahead of Malik Nabers. He's as good as Malik Nabers, Marvin Harrison Jr., if not even better. And how come Malik Nabers is this new rookie sensation and Marvin Harrison is kind of easing his way in? I know he caught a touchdown pass last week. He's not playing poorly. But do you think they're going to start utilizing Marvin Harrison a lot more?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he's their main weapon. I mean, when he finally played and showed up, he showed up really big. So I don't think he's going to get held back. I think the only person that can hold Marvin Harrison back, Marvin Harrison Jr. back, is himself. And whether there's off the field stuff, dealing with legal issues, in regards to lawsuits and all that kind of stuff. I just think that he's the best player, and I'm a huge LSU fan. I'm a huge Malik Nabers fan, and he's super talented. But the more talented guy, and I think who's going to be really needed as well, is Marvin Harrison Jr. And it'll remains to be seen who will be the rookie of the year. I mean, it's those three guys. They're in the top tier. Jaden Daniels.
I kind of disagree with you. I think Arizona has a better running game than the Giants. I think that's one of the reasons why he's not featured like Nabers is. I mean, who's running the ball for the Giants? We got two little scat backs. You guys got the Arizona Cardinals have a good running game, and that's gonna open it up. But they don't have to depend on Harrison like the Giants look like they're trying to do with Nabers, which to me is foolish too. But that's a whole nother discussion. I think the Arizona's got a better balanced offense than the Giants right now, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I wouldn't downplay Singletary, but you mentioned the running game. If I bring up Saquon Barkley, you'll get annoyed at me. So I'm not going to do it.
Well, when we talk about the Eagles, you can bring up Saquon. New Orleans at Atlanta again. I think we all picked this game. I don't know if Jack picked this game or not. No, he didn't. Jack stayed away from it. Jack, let me get your thoughts on this because James went with New Orleans. Did I go with no, I didn't. I stayed away from it too. Jack, you start. What do you think about Atlanta, New Orleans?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. I think Kirk Cousins is going to break out. Derek Carr after last week's poor performance. He's in and out. I could see him having a big game, this weekend. And, what kind of shape is Alvin Kamara in? That's the question, too. He's going to be playing. I'm going to go along the lines that Kamara is going to be healthy and have a big game from his end and thrown to Chris Olave. What's the deal of Chris Olave?
Well, during training camp, he had a hamstring injury, and he was limited participation towards the end of the week. So he's questionable whether or not he's going to play.
Because he's one of the more underrated receivers in the league, and somehow he disappeared this season. And at some point, he's going to show up big time, and you wonder, would a day like today be the day? I'm going to go with the Falcons in a shootout, something like 30-27.
I don't know why they're not using.
I said the Saints. Did I say the Falcons? The Saints.
Yeah, you got the Saints. I don't know why they're not using Pitts as much as they should be. I don't know.
Well, Pitts, great tight end.
Yeah, and they got a pretty good running back there too that really got shut down last week. I don't know if it gets shut down again this week. New Orleans got a good defense. I think Atlanta's got in my opinion, I think Atlanta has a little bit better offense than New Orleans because especially with the injuries. But I think New Orleans has a little bit better defense than Atlanta. Maybe. I mean, I think it's going to be a really good game too, guys.
Perception is checked. We were talking a little while ago on a small body of work, 3 games away, perception changes very quickly. Nearly everyone was picking the Falcons to win the division in the beginning of the year. And now, they're just one of three teams, the
Again.
Saints, the Buccaneers, the Falcons. Now we put them in one group.
Yeah.
That sense of favoritism that the Falcons lost. If the Falcons was good as people projected them to be, they would have closed out the game with the Kansas City Chiefs last week, yet they didn't do it. So maybe this is a very ordinary Falcon team. They were 7-10 the last 3 years. Maybe they're no more than an 8-9 team.
I don't know. I really don't know. It's too early. I mean, you're on. Maybe Kirk Cousins wasn't the answer. I don't. It's going to be interesting. I think at the end of the year, who ends up in first place? Because even though Tampa Bay got beat last week, but guess what? They got a winnable game this week, and I don't know, man. I don't know who's a better team out there right now.
But Tampa Bay, how did they get the practice with the hurricane indoors? With it, we sometimes don't consider how unsettled it could be for a team, with the elements being off. It shakes up the lifestyle. It shakes up their pattern of doing things.
I would imagine they have an indoor stadium. I would think, right? Almost every NFL team does have some kind of indoor facility. I would think they could practice there. I would think. I might be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah,
I
but
do
they
wanna
get
mention
to
one
play
thing.
in their homes.
I want to mention one thing. You guys mentioned Kyle Pitts. This might be the breakout game for him, because New Orleans versus Dallas Goedert, their safeties, they gave up 170 yards to him. So he may have an opportunity here to exploit some weaknesses there in their safety.
Yeah.
No, okay, all right. We pretty much talked about Pittsburgh against Indianapolis. Oh my God! Until Richardson can throw a ball and be consistent, and until he can do that, I got no faith in the Colts right now. I mean, I know Colts are a pretty gritty team. T.J. Watt feeds on the Colts. He feeds on the Colts over his career. The Colts running defense isn't that great. So I expect Pittsburgh to run the ball a lot, and I think Pittsburgh wins this, guys. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I like Indianapolis there. I mean, in that game, I mean, something about the Colts, how they're trying to gear their team around Andy Richardson. They've invested heavily in their offensive line. Their pass protection is excellent. But Anthony Richardson, he's what he is. He's a runner by nature. And you're trying to turn a player into something he's not, because you want to keep him healthy. When you draft a guy or you trade for a guy, he's what he is. And the biggest problem is trying to get a guy away from his strength. So if you expect Anthony Richardson to be in the pocket a lot more than he has, he's going to lose. He's going to lose a lot of effectiveness. He's a running quarterback, so don't design running plays for him. Try to teach him to be a little more patient, or design some rollout plays. But something between Anthony Richardson and the Colts, they're just not on the same page. His own team.
But Jack, this is a team in Pittsburgh that's strong against. They're not only strong; they're excellent against his strength, which is running and rollouts and the run game. I mean, obviously, everything is predicated, like you said. Don't try to force him to be a pocket guy. Allow him to do what he does naturally. But this team, in the Steelers, their defense, it's meant to stop people like him. I mean, at least they've shown that, and they stopped their run game. Again, I just don't see them getting any positive yardage. I mean, or like successful yardage in the running against this style defense, particularly with T.J. Watt on the tear as well. He's been phenomenal.
You got a stud like Jonathan Taylor, and you can't run the ball with him. There's a problem. And again, their offensive line, this is what's going to make this game intriguing. Steelers got an outstanding pass rush where they can flush a quarterback out of the pocket, pressure him. And the Colts have an outstanding offensive line. So it's going to be interesting which one gives. I mean, I kind of feel the Steelers are going to penetrate, get Anthony Richardson on the move. And if he uses his legs the right way, that's the key to the Colts winning the game.
And it's hard to win 4 in a row, right? We talked about Buffalo too. You got to win 4 in a row. That's not easy to do at the things. It's sooner or later.
I'll tell you too, all we're going to hear after this game is as far as Justin Fields. If the Steelers win, there's absolutely no way that Russell Wilson can start next week if he's ready. If they go to 4-0, there's absolutely no way. And I credit Mike Tomlin, one of the smartest coaches in the NFL. He's not giving anything away. He says, we don't have to make that decision now. I'm not talking about it. Russ isn't ready to play next week.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, to me, he's just saying, he's not saying something that we all know. That's I don't understand the give and take there with that. I guess he enjoys it. I don't know. Jacksonville +5.5 at Houston. Houston looked terrible last week, and the last team Jacksonville beat 8 games ago was the Houston Texans. Everyone stayed away from this game too, I guess because everybody was a little nervous about what happened in Houston, and Jacksonville eventually's got to win one. Is this the game, guys?
Yes, season is on the line, the Jacks today. No ifs or buts about it. I know after today you're going to have 13 more games left. Their season is on the line, not just because they're 0-3. We're going to see what the Jaguars are made of because Houston needs this game themselves. They're coming off a loss. They played terribly against the Vikings last week. The Texans are going to be ready at home. And the Jags are a mess right now. We're going to see if they bounce back and they win, it's a turnaround game on the whole season for the Jaguars. It'll show us that maybe they've gotten it together, that it was a little bit of an aberration how poorly they played. But what was alarming what Doug Peterson said with the Jaguars? Guys were bailing out, and they weren't even trying to tackle as hard as they could against the Bills. And that's scary when you become non-competitive like that.
Yeah. Yeah, listen, I agree.
Houston should win this game by a couple of touchdowns.
What do you think?
I got Houston winning as well. I got Houston winning. I don't think the Jags bounce back in this game. My question is whether or not Trevor Lawrence is he overrated or is he overpaid?
They're all overpaid, James. But
James,
Trevor,
it doesn't matter with his contract. They've got to live with him the next, few years, basically. And he has had success in his 3 previous years. He hasn't been nearly as good as projected, but he's been somewhat successful. But you wonder, is he kind of a little better version of a Mitch Trubisky? You kind of wonder, a little better than that, but not that much better. That's the scary part. Is he? Do the Jaguars have no more than an average quarterback who they're paying superstar money to?
I'll tell you, I believe Houston. I believe Houston may not be as good as we think this year. And I'm going to tell you why. I don't see any team that should come and roll Houston like that, even if it's the Vikings who are surprising everybody. They got a receiver that they brought over that I don't know. I'm going to go with the Jags with the points. I think it's a division game. They're going to be trying as hard as they can, and we'll see if Houston can overcome what happened last week. I don't know.
This could be a sophomore slump for C.J. Stroud. I mean, it happens to quarterbacks. Everybody knows who you are now, and everybody's trying to game plan for you as well. So it's a possibility.
We're saying Houston's one of the tops. It could also be a first-year headache with a receiver that came over from the Bills too. I mean, I don't know. They just didn't look good at all last week, at all.
I think they bounce back from that game. We're probably saying that might be the toughest defense that they play against this year. I mean, in the Vikings defense. So
they're going to play Pittsburgh. Wait a minute, they're going to play Pittsburgh. Maybe they're going to play the AFC some defenses. And you think Minnesota's toughest? I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if Houston. I mean, it opens the door. To me, this opens the door. There's no reason why Houston should at least played Minnesota tough. They didn't.
I just don't.
It's a bad game. It's one of those things that happens. Look, the 49ers are 1-2 right now. The Ravens are 1-2. You know they're going to get it together.
Okay. All right.
And Mac, I just don't see Jacksonville as a team to start righting the ship against a team like Houston. So
listen, I'm not saying Jacksonville. I'm not saying Jacksonville is even a wild card. I'm saying this is a division game. And I'm saying Houston, I don't know if Houston is as good as we think it is. That's all I'm saying.
Mac, just a little stat. Trevor Lawrence has lost his last 8 starts. Yeah. That's scary. That's a major red flag. 8 starts in a row. You mean to tell me they've been bleeding for a while? They've had multiple opportunities to stop the bleeding, and they haven't been able to. And think of how ugly the loss was to the Bills, 47-10. Ugly.
Well, Houston got their butts whipped last week too. But this thing we're going to find out: do the Jags want to keep around Peterson? Because I'm telling you right now, if they don't play out of their minds for Peterson this game, this may be a short season for him. This is what I want to find. This is what we're going to find out today. I mean, not the Jags win, but the Jags are battling to the end this week, and it's close, and that's why I'm going to take the 5.
No, Bill Belichick has been linked to the Jags because their owner would give him full say over the football operation, and that's what he wants. In Jacksonville, nice warm climate, a nice place to live, and I can see that happening. I mean, I don't see Belichick coming in during the season, but you never know. Maybe Belichick is studying all these teams very carefully, but making a move during the season, when teams make moves, they don't bring in an outsider. They'll bring in someone on their coaching staff if they're going to replace a coach, during the season. But 100%. Doug Peterson's not going to be the coach next year unless there's a turnaround. I don't think he's going to survive this year if they continue to play the way they have.
Oh, definitely. That's what I'm saying, Jack. We're going to find out if he has that team or not. And I think it starts now. We'll find out. We'll definitely find out. They don't think to play. We already talked about Minnesota and Green Bay. I think it's going to be a great game. We'll see what happens there. Cincinnati.
I like Green Bay,
yeah, I kind of do too. I think Green Bay at home is going to be tough for Minnesota to beat, and they're going to lose one game, division game. I think it's going to be a great game. I think I kind of like Green Bay here too, Jack. I know James likes Minnesota because he is now a believer in the Vikings.
I am.
I mean, listen, if you think of this with the Vikings, they have a really good defense, great defensive coordinator, Brian Flores, really a good defensive unit. And just think about all their weapons, they're loaded at wide receiver, tight end, running, back. The offensive line's been giving Sam Darnold protection. They've been opening up holes. I mean, they're a decent team. I mean, they're maybe more than a decent team. I thought they'd have a decent team, but maybe they're Super Bowl contender for. We know I'm not going that far yet, getting that carried away. But
listen, as we said, they have not played from behind but 5 snaps. Let's see what happens when they get down 14-0. 17.
Let's remember 2 years ago when the Giants started off 6-1. Okay, and people were gloating.
The Giants 2 years ago.
No. My point is, sometimes these teams unexpectedly get off to a great start.
Okay,
that Giant team didn't have the personnel that this Viking team has. That's the point about. And consider this, guys. 2 years ago, the Vikings, won their division, had a really good season. They lost in the playoffs to the Giants, but they had a really good regular season. Last year was a down year. So, maybe it's a little bit of, a rebound. Maybe they're more the team they were 2 years ago than what we thought about them going into the regular season this year.
Maybe. I mean, listen.
And I knew Sam Darnold was going to have a good year this year. I kind of wonder where he's going to be next year, Sam Darnold. Because with J.J. McCarthy on the roster, they're not going to give Sam Darnold a long-term deal, the Vikings.
Yeah, they could sign him another year if they want to.
But why would you want to? If one team is going to step up and give him 3 years, a good money.
It depends how far up they finish. Suppose they finish Jack in the championship and they're 1 game away. Maybe he stays for another year to see if he can take it to Super Bowl.
But another team like the Raiders would give him a 3-year deal or something. Some team would sign him.
That's possible. Definitely possible. We talked about Cincinnati minus 4.5 at Carolina. I don't think anybody here thinks Carolina wins this game. We have the Rams at Chicago. Everybody stayed away from this one too. Stafford, couple hurt guys, still played pretty well. Chicago, do we not, or do we believe in Caleb Williams? The Rams are getting 3. What do you guys think? I mean, can Caleb Williams finally get it together, have a good game, and be the reason why the Bears win a game?
Maybe, but there's news in Chicago. The players got together with the offensive coordinator. They had a sit down. The players felt, they were being held back on offense. They didn't like the game plan. And they claim it was a good meeting. They aired out their grievances. They were telling the offensive coordinator, we can win with you. We have your back. But you've got to open things up for us. You've got to change. And I believe they got their message across.
What are they opening? Jackie threw for 52 times last week.
I know. That's what I kind of wondered about, Mac. That's a great point. You throw 52 times, but obviously, some of those have to have been broken plays. Something has to be completely out of whack there where you throw the ball 52 times, yet your players are meeting with the offensive coordinator because they want to change. I'm sure they didn't meet with him to say, let's have a more conservative game plan and we're going to pound the ball on the ground. You never meet for that. That would be crazy. Unless you have Marshall Lynch or John Riggins, then you can say, look, let's run more. Something is going on in Chicago.
I think the biggest problem, James, you correct. I think the biggest problem with the Chicago Bears right now is their offensive line. They got weapons. They're just throwing these guys aside on the offensive line. How do you fix that?
They can't run the ball. They can't run the ball. They got a good running back in DeAndre Swift, and he hasn't done anything. And it's not him, it's the offensive line. So no wonder he has to they have to rely on him throwing 50 plus times a game. Don't get me wrong. I think going against the Rams gave up 3 touchdowns to Juwan Jennings. This might be a game where he throws a few touchdowns, so the secondary is suspect, but the run game for the Chicago Bears is pretty suspect as well. Run defense is suspect as well.
Keenan Allen is, the run defense.
The run defense. And Kyron Williams he had a great fantasy game last week with 29 points. So look for him to run as well, especially since they don't have any wide receivers with the Rams right now.
Yeah.
Everybody's hurt.
Nobody touched that. I kind of understand that. I mean, if I had to pick, I would go with the Rams because of their experience and Stafford and the running game, and I would go with them. But I mean, who knows? Chicago, maybe this is the week for Caleb Williams. We'll see.
You wonder with DJ Moore whether with another quarterback, another situation where he would be thriving a lot more at wide receiver. But I'll say this about Caleb Williams. He's got a lot of heart. He's not scared to fail. He'll take chances. He'll keep coming at you, even though he hasn't had a great deal of success this year so far. But it doesn't appear that his confidence is taking a hit. So that's about the best thing I could say about him.
All right. Okay. So up next, we got the Denver Broncos at the Jets. As I said, everybody stayed away from this too. Is it the 8 points that everybody's worried about given to Denver, that maybe Denver's defense is better than what we think, and maybe Bo Nix can drive them down the field and kick field goals and keep it close?
Yeah, I think the Jets are going to cover and win by more than the 7 points, but I have a little apprehension. Yesterday, James mentioned about how good a coach Sean Payton is, and I'm a believer in Sean Payton. I feel he's really a good coach. Remember the mess the Broncos were early last year? And he brought him back to an 8-9 record. It was a mess. Their defense, they're going to put their best play on their team. Patrick Surtain, their great cornerback. They're going to put him on Garrett Wilson, and that doesn't hurt the Jets a great deal. Surtain might be able to control Garrett Wilson. I'm not saying he won't be able to because of how great Surtain is. But Aaron Rodgers loves spreading the ball all over the place anyway. So he's happy to get Surtain out of the way and sacrifice Garrett Wilson to get the ball to Conklin, Lazard, etc. And the Jet running game, man, between, Allen and Hall, they have an elite running game. Bo Nix, the whole key is rookie quarterback like him. If they could put pressure on him, Bo Nix isn't going to do much with the Jets. He's not going to, get rid of the ball quickly, and they're not going to get their offense going, Denver. if the Jets get a good pass rush on them. It doesn't even have to be relentless, just a good steady pass rush. And Bo Nix is going to have problems in this game.
Well, James, Bo Nix is a pretty good running quarterback, and that's one thing that is kind of overlooked by him. He is pretty accurate, just a lot of short passes, right? They don't open up the game that much. Denver's running game is terrible, and that's why Bo Nix is throwing so much. It's sort of like the Chicago situation over there right now, right? He's throwing for a lot of yards, but not a lot of touchdowns, and he's somewhat of an athlete. I kind of agree with Jack, but again, the Denver defense, I think we're kind of underrating again going up against the Jets, and maybe.
Look, I took a note and I said, is this a return of the Orange Crush? Because up against Baker Mayfield, they got 7 sacks. And Baker, I'm not, in no way am I comparing Baker to Aaron Rodgers. But what I will say, he knows how to move around the pocket, but they still got to him 7 times. And so with the offensive line of the Jets, are they going to be enough to hold up against this pass rush?
Well, Morgan Moses out. Yeah.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Yeah, the Jets, they should be okay, the Jets.
Okay.
They should be okay. I can't see with their revamped offensive line, and Fashanu, however you pronounce his last name, getting his first start here. They should be fine.
I have the Jets winning. I just don't have them winning by that spread. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think.
And this is one of the games the Jets, they're saying this is the easy part of their schedule here. They got to win these games before they start matching up with the tougher part. I think Denver gives them a run. I think Jets win. I think they win. I think they win by a touchdown, and that's under 8 points. So I'll take that. Philadelphia, Tampa Bay, very interesting game to me. I almost took Tampa Bay. It's in Tampa Bay after the hurricane. Philly's coming in. They go to a hotel. They ain't getting the workout that they could either, as Tampa Bay isn't. And you got A.J. Brown's out. You got Smith is out. You got another third receivers out. It's all going to be Saquon Barkley. Tampa Bay's got to stop Saquon Barkley basically in a tight end. And Hurts likes to try to force the ball a little too much this year. That's his only drawback. Other than that, he's leading the league, I think, in passing yardage. But as far as throwing the ball down the field, he likes to force things. He doesn't have his 2 big receivers. Going to be interesting. Tampa Bay kicked their tail 32-9 in the playoffs. What do you guys think?
We're asking Hurts to do too much because when he makes mistakes, this is a result of him trying to do too much. Because to not have an A.J. Brown or Devontae Smith, that's pretty devastating. They got Dotson. He's going to play more. That's the deal they made with Washington. So let's see, does he step up? And Tampa Bay does have a good defense. You'd have to think that they're going to key on Saquon Barkley a lot. And again, the weather, in Tampa, the hurricane, who's that affected more? When did the Eagles arrive in Tampa Bay because of the weather situation over there when it was safe to travel? I have to feel Philadelphia is going to win a fairly high-scoring game, 26-22. I get the feeling it's going to be a bit of a sloppy type game.
Here's an interesting stat. Tampa Bay doesn't have a sack for the past 2 weeks. So Jalen Hurts, this is an opportunity, even with your wide receivers. He's down both, right? He's down both his top wide receivers. Yeah. Saquon Barkley is still a receiver out of the backfield. I'm pretty sure they're going to be game planner. That's their weapon. And Dallas Goedert coming off his biggest game of the year against the Saints, having 170 yards, another weapon. They got to find ways to throw the ball because there's no pressure coming at them. So it's going to give them time to do things. Not having any sacks at all for the past 2 weeks, that's not good. I don't know. I have the Eagles winning this game, but it won't. It'll be very close.
You saw the game last week, James. No, when the Eagles beat the Saints. What was your impression of the Eagles defense last week? Because they limited the Saints to just 3 field goals.
I thought the interior was the deciding factor. Not having the center going down in the beginning. Saints' offensive line was already suspect, but I thought their interior made all the deciding factor of that game. That they got pressure upon pressure in the middle. So if the Eagles have that against Baker Mayfield, which got sacked 7 times, I don't see a way that the Buccaneers win.
I think it's a very low scoring game. I think Tampa Bay sends the house at Hurts on passing downs. I think they're going to keep him under pressure the whole game. I know I definitely would if I was, and I'm not a defensive head coach like they have over there right now. I think they're going to bring the house against Hurts. They're going to key on Barkley, stay on a tight end, keep everything underneath tight, and just send the house. That's what I would do. And I think they can win that way. So we'll see. Tampa Bay's going to have to run the ball. They have to be able to run the ball against the Eagles. They're a little suspect at, and we'll see if they.
Well, I think Vita Vea is out there. Great offensive lineman, so that hurts a little bit.
Sure does. Kansas City at San Diego. We really didn't talk about this. San Diego, Herbert is questionable. I think Mahomes. There was something going on with Mahomes too. I know Mahomes is playing. I know Herbert will be playing unless, it's that bad. They said he has a high ankle sprain. Kansas City's given 7.5 going into San Diego. Is KC that 7.5 points that much better than San Diego?
I think they are. I don't look at this as being a trap game for the Chiefs, even though they're 3-0, and people might feel, they're going to be a little complacent. They're 3-0. They'll get upset. The Chargers are coming off a loss to the Steelers. Chiefs haven't been playing that well. They're lucky to be 3-0. The good thing about the Chiefs is they're the most professional team in the NFL. They know how to straighten things out. Like last season, they weren't good during the regular season. They had enough to make the playoffs, but they even lost a late regular season game they had to win at home. They lost to the Raiders, but they still found a way to straighten things out by the playoffs. And I got to believe this is a week they straighten things out. You wonder about Travis Kelce. He's been awful this year. And a lot of people are saying, well, he shouldn't have been traveling in the off season, going here, going there. But I got to believe he was hitting the gym. He's too much of a pro to let himself go. But maybe at age 35, players slowed down, and it was inevitable at some point he was going to slow down. And maybe we're seeing right now the decline of a great career. Or maybe we see a big bounce back today where he catches 2 touchdown passes and looks like his old self. But I'm not overly impressed with this Charger team. They're charismatic with Jim Harbaugh, but they don't have a lot of offense going from him. Justin Herbert, being injured and all. I see the Chiefs winning something like 24-13.
Wow.
San Diego plays smash. San Diego plays is playing smash mouth.
They're Los
right?
Angeles Chargers, Mac. They're not San Diego Chargers. San Diego. San Diego have a home crowd. No one in LA cares about the Chargers. They have no home field advantage there.
San Diego Chargers.
Mac.
Don't make me mute you. Please don't make me mute you.
I asked a fun question.
A very smash mouth style of football, right? Tough defense, tough running game. Kansas City, if they keep Mahomes off the field, eat up some clock, make mistakes at the end, you can beat him. They can beat him. Right, James?
They can, but Herbert has to be in the game. I just don't see that happening if he's not playing. He's got that gimpy ankle, and so I don't think if he's at 100%, I don't think they win. They have an opportunity, a puncher's chance with J.K. Dobbins. He ran into a wall when he went against Pittsburgh, but before that, man, he was on a tear, and so I could see him bouncing back. But if you don't have any passing option, if you're not there and everybody loads up in your front 7 or front 8 in the box, they can shut him down. That's all they got on offense.
Okay. All right.
So
Herbert hasn't been himself the last year and a half or so. At one point, he was one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, and no one looks at him as such right now. We can keep saying because he's been injured, he had a poor offensive line last year, et cetera, et cetera. But he's not regarded the way he once was, and no one is bringing that up.
I don't think that he has to be what he once was, because if you can look at what Jim Harbaugh does with quarterbacks, he keeps them. I mean, we talk about Colin Kaepernick. I mean, and the kid in that was in Michigan. What's his name? I can't. Yes. I mean, he utilizes these guys for what they are and pull out the best out of them, I think, and just kind of hide their weaknesses. But he can do the same thing with this guy. And I think this guy, of those two quarterbacks, I think Herbert is he's a better quarterback. He's a better quarterback. So he needs to be healthy.
Cleveland going into Las Vegas. Deshaun Watson said he is not a running quarterback. He is not going to run design running plays. He's a pocket quarterback. That's what he is, and he's going to be to get better as a pocket quarterback back to where he was. He's telling them what he is, what they are not going to do. Las Vegas, of course, head coach Pierce put them all on notice. We got decision. We have decision things to make here. Decisions, business decisions. Does this work with the Raiders? And this Deshaun Watson, does he finally throw better? Or, I mean, he's the worst quarterback in the league right now.
I just thought of something, and this is cruel what I thought of. I never thought of it until this second, Mac, where you set off something in my head. Deshaun Watson is one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the NFL. It's hard to bench a guy like that if you're the coach, but sometimes you'd rather have your backup play, but it's hard to pull your starter because of what he's getting paid. It's a massive decision, and the front office really doesn't want you to do it. Ownership doesn't really want you to do it because what they're paying the guy. But can you imagine, and I'm not saying this is the case for 1 second, Kevin Stefanski's thinking, I'd rather give it a go with Jameis Winston. So I'll let Deshaun Watson run. If he gets injured, that makes my decision easy. So in other words, he's maybe not looking out for his guy's, safety, well-being. And figuring, look, if he gains yards, great. I'm going to unleash him, let him run, and if he gets hurt, he gets hurt. I'll go to Jameis Winston. They don't feel the sense of protection for Deshaun Watson that, let's say, the Indianapolis Colts might feel for Anthony Richardson.
No, I don't think that's the case at all. I don't think they're going to have Deshaun Watson run to get hurt. I think they think
they don't want him to get hurt.
He's a pretty good athlete, and he can pick up first downs with his legs. And when the receivers aren't open and the line is breaking down, the Cleveland offensive line isn't the greatest. When it breaks down, he should run. Now he said he doesn't want to do designed runs. It's a little bit different. And I guess maybe the coach wanted him to run more design runs where he's actually running with the ball, not passing an option. I don't know, Jack. I think you do whatever you got to do for your team to win. That's how I always played football. I think that's the way most people play football. I wouldn't, as the worst QBR rated quarterback in the league that hasn't done anything the last 3 years, be telling the coach what and what I'm not doing. That I wouldn't do.
Or at least not put that out in public. I mean, keep that in-house.
Yeah.
I don't get it.
They didn't make himself look good, Deshaun Watson, with
Winston's
the remarks.
an option. Winston's an option, James. He is an option. I'm just saying.
I mean, there's a reason to put him up there. Yeah.
He is an option. Tennessee.
Yeah, perhaps.
Tennessee at Miami. We're going to have Huntley starting, right? Huntley, am I saying it right? Huntley, the guy that can run and not throw too good. 3-6 with the Ravens. He's starting. The backup quarterback has injured ribs. Is he enough to beat Tennessee? Because Tennessee is actually underdog at Miami. Can he get the ball to the wide receivers? That's the biggest question, I think. I know he can run. Can he get it to the Cheetah? Can he get it to Waddle? Can he do that? If he can do that, then Miami should beat Tennessee. If he can't,
he's a running quarterback, Huntley. He's never been a passer ever. You know what? How sick the NFL is with the Pro Bowl. Huntley's you're going to read he's a former Pro Bowl quarterback. He made the Pro Bowl when he was a backup. He was a backup quarterback, and and he made the Pro Bowl. That's how stupid these titles are. Huntley is a serviceable backup. Okay, he's not a passer. But listen, when you have studs like Waddle and Hill, these guys are so lightning quick. They can get open. Any quarterback should be able to get the ball to them. The burden's not on Huntley in this game. It's on his receivers and on his running game and on his offensive line. I mean, he can make things happen with his legs, on a design running play. Yeah, that he can do.
What do you think, James? I mean, Levis versus Huntley. Who's the better quarterback?
Oh my goodness, that's pretty close now. I'm going to take Huntley with the weapons around him. They just need to hold up, and I think the game plan has to be but seriously vanilla. I mean, it has to be just enough to be able to utilize his skills. Like you said, he can run the ball. Allow him to do so. I don't think Tennessee's offense is enough. It's probably going to be a low scoring game. I don't think Tennessee's offense has enough to even combat 10. It might be 10-13 or something like that at best. Yeah, but I think Miami can win.
Miami's defense is suspect too. Miami's defense is suspect too. Go ahead, Jen.
I like Tennessee something 24-17, but I'm going to tell you this. If they're struggling on offense, Tennessee, they're going to have they have a major decision to make, because once you pull Will Levis as your quarterback, I don't want to hear about him being the quarterback of the future. This is his second year. He wasn't a first-round draft choice. He was a second-round draft choice. They got Mason Rudolph in the wings. And if they want to make anything out of this season, there's still going to be time. And Mason Rudolph did not go to Tennessee to be a backup. He could have been that with the Steelers. I mean, he went there to play, but they're thinking of Will Levis in the future. And Will Levis has done some good things, but he's made some awful decisions that have really cost the Titans. And this might be this game's crucial for Will Levis, because I get the feeling if he really has a poor game today, next week Mason Rudolph gets the nod, and Mason Rudolph gets in before this game is over.
Very possible, Jack. I can see it. He at the end, especially at the end of the game, he makes these crazy ass throws. Seattle and Detroit, again, a very interesting game. I don't know how good Seattle is, and Detroit should win this at home against Seattle. Seattle has one of the best passing games in the league, guys. Don't get it twisted. They are up near the top in the passing league. They're running a little iffy, defense a little iffy, but Detroit, I don't know. I think this is going to be a pretty good game. What do you think, James?
I think Detroit has a great pass rush, so that might rattle Geno Smith a little bit. So I really, and they have a decent secondary. They got a couple of rookies, but they have a really good secondary. So I think this team is evenly matched. Is Kenneth Walker the third in, because they're going to need him?
I believe he's out. I'm not certain about that.
The running back with Seattle, yeah, they're going to need him, because I just think at home Detroit is going to be a better team. I'm picking Detroit in this game.
Jack, does Goff mess it up at the end and throw a couple interceptions?
No, I mean Goff's an okay quarterback. I'm not down on Jared Goff in that sense. He's not a difference maker. That's my thing. He can manage a game. He can play well. He's a good quarterback. If I had to give Jared Goff a grade, you make believe he's a student. He's a B student. He's got to be average. And you want A students, to get to the honor roll. I mean, prime time game. I look for the Lions to put on a lot of points with Goff. I look for Goff to have an outstanding game. They'll win some 32-20, and their pass rush. Geno Smith tends to get rattled on the pass rush. Who could forget when Aaron Donald broke through with the Rams? He was starting to wince his voice like, "Oh no," when Darnold coming at him, and let Hutchinson come at him the same way. Hutchinson isn't quite as good as Darnold.
I think the other end for Detroit, I think, is out, if I'm not mistaken, or he's injured. The other one that's on the other side, Hutchinson. I'm not exactly sure, so don't take my word at that. Our fantasy football team, we're going to get an update from James today as we're going against the NFL Players Top 100. I think we're in the lead, but it's by the smallest of margins, James.
We were in week 2 by 2 points, but they look like they jumped over us in week 3. And the reason why, I'm going to go and tell you, Pat Mahomes has not been a fantasy quarterback through week 3. He hasn't been. And they got us beat in that category with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson had 26 points. Pat had 17.4. And also in our running back category, man, I'm going to tell you, Breece Hall had it. He's been the mainstay. He's been doing well. He's been in the teams. But, man, last week, Derrick Henry and Kyron Williams, who stepped up for Raheem Mostert. If Raheem Mostert would have been not injured, Kyron Williams would have been third running back. He moved up. He got 29 points. Derrick Henry, 29 points. That's what killed him. We had 17 points for Breece Hall and 13.1 for Josh Jacobs. Had Saquon Barkley been the starter in there, man, he'd be up there. Of course.
We can't replace him without injuries. We can't do it because that would be cheating. Because I wish we could have.
Right.
It would be cheating. We can't cheat. But I mean, what's the score there, James? That's what I don't know.
So right now they beat us with 100. Excuse me. We had 103.5 last week, and they had 118.3. But the total in points right now is 348.8 for them and 336.4. So not bad. We're not too far behind.
We're like 9 behind them right now, right? That's
yeah.
Right. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's get into some of the news. I got a couple pictures for you, and I want to put up because I want to show people how bad the refereeing is in the red zone. I don't have the Kansas City picture where he actually tackled them, not looking at the ball in the end zone, and they didn't call Kansas City for the pass interference. So this here was the face mask penalty against, they called against the Giants. Now, as you can see, number 13 for the Giants in the white and the star helmet is face masking the Dallas Cowboy with the New York symbol on his helmet. So the call was that the Giants face mask penalty. This was after Daniel Jones picked up a first down at the 15-yard line, and it would have been face mask versus Dallas, and we would have been first and goal at the halfway point. So that's one thing. They got the team wrong. The second one was on a Dallas touchdown, as there was a holding penalty called, and as you can see, number one was picked up. Number one is definitely not pulling on 44's jersey there to stop him from stopping the running back from scoring a touchdown. Now, they picked up that flag. Now, I don't think the Giants were down there, 9 times, and that's one play that face mask happened on, and they kicked field goals. So they deserve to win the game. But you can't miss calls like that. You can't say the wrong team when it's not even the right. I mean, how do you miss that being a Dallas face mask and call it a Giant face mask? And no explanation. And how can you call a holding penalty and pick it up when he did hold him? That's ridiculous. So, I mean, if at least be consistent. I don't like to blame the refs. If this happened on the 50-yard line, I wouldn't even say nothing about it. But when you're affecting the score of the game, especially down by the red zone, and that's where it seems all these penalties are happening. They're happening when people are scoring or there's field position. You can't do that as an official, and something has to be done. Goodell was working with the ref union when he was underneath Tagliabue. And I can tell it because there's nothing being done to these refs. They called the game wrong. This proof is there. Do something. Fine them. Whatever you got to do. You would fine a player if he broke the rules. They're not doing their job. Fine them or something. And I'm not saying because it's the Giants. I'm saying in any condition when it's this blatant, they've got to do something, guys. And that's all I'm saying. All right. So anyway. So we talked about a little bit about Huntley going in. and getting the offense against the Titans. Only thing we really didn't discuss is Titans defense. Titans defense, you think they can stop Huntley? Just put pressure on Huntley. He hasn't played in a while. He's a second string quarterback. Can Tennessee control Huntley at all?
Zach, I don't think we went over the Niner game. You mentioned that the key.
We did. We talked about San Diego and San Diego.
Yeah, well, New England's playing at San Francisco.
Oh,
the 49ers.
all right. The 49ers
I think
game.
that's the one game that slipped by us. Yeah.
Good point. Guys think that New England has a chance. That's my question. I
No.
think James, is there any chance?
What do you guys think? I think the 49ers should cover. I don't think it'll be a rout, something like 29-14 decisive. What do you guys think of Ayuk, their wide receiver, who was the big holdout, who got the contract, arguing with, his coach Kyle Shanahan because he was wearing different shorts from the rest of the offensive unit. And I know the coach wanted the shorts, everything to blend in the same outfit. And he's giving the coach a hard time. We don't have discipline in sports anymore. I don't care how much he's getting paid. If I'm an owner, I say to the coach, send him to the practice squad for one game. Get your point across. Even if he has to miss a game, I'm paying him. Don't worry, I got your back. I'm telling the coach, guys got to get disciplined. Send them to the practice squad for 1 week, even if it humiliates him. And if he doesn't work out with the guys, suspend him. And I'm not going to pay him for that game. Let his players union get involved. I'll handle it with the players union. I mean, why did they put up with this childish behavior, the coaches?
Listen, it's because it's the way it is, Jack, today. I mean, it's just the head coaches today are not hard-nosed coaches like they were way back when. I mean, they just let there's basically when Kelsey got up and head coach Reed's face and was swearing at him. I mean, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's about respect to me, Jack. I mean, if you have a problem with your head coach, I get it. But if you're going to go in there and start swearing in front of his face on national TV, that's disrespectful. And Andy Reid should have pulled him out. I would have pulled him out of the game. I would have sent him to the locker room. That's what I would have done. Andy Reid said, "Oh, he wants to win." Yeah, they all want to win, but not every player on the team is in there screaming in your face. Patrick Mahomes isn't doing that. Pacheco's not doing that. But Kelsey gets to do this, and to me, this is what's going. That's what's happening in the NFL now, right now. You can do whatever the hell you want, say whatever the hell you want, and be disrespectful.
It's a little different if something happens in the heat of a moment when emotions are running high. It's a little different than, I'm not saying it's acceptable. Listen, Travis Kelce went on afterwards the podcast with his brother Jason Kelce, and Jason Kelce brought it up to Travis. He said, that's not acceptable what you did. And Travis Kelce said, you're darn right it wasn't acceptable, how out of line he was. And keep in mind, it's about relationships too. If you have a super close relationship with someone, sometimes you take a little more liberties because it's like family arguing. It's not, you don't look at it as disrespect. You look at it like arguing like family.
Disrespect, though. I'm going to have to give you an example of Mike Singletary and Vernon Davis. Vernon Davis was totally out of line or something. And Mike Singletary, even though they weren't a great team, he sent him out. He put him out and he left the field. And he said that, I forgot what, paraphrasing, it's just that he just was just out of line. And he had the discipline, but he had a lot of respect for him later once he did that. I mean, a lot of times you just got to nip it in the bud right there, right then and there.
And you say, Jack, it's about family. I would never do that to my father out there in public. I would never do that to my brother like that out in public, especially on a national scene. I think what Travis Kelce did, and he hasn't played well since that game. Just to give you a little heads up.
That's nothing to do with it.
I'm just telling you. I'm just telling you the facts. He hasn't had a good game since then.
It's a different season, Matt.
What I'm saying though, Jack, I don't care if they win a Super Bowl or not. Kelce should have been thrown off the field. And that's
Tom Brady. Tom Brady praised Andy Reid for the way he handled the whole situation afterwards. Tom Brady praised him, and Reid handled it okay, but it's a little different if a guy's rebelling during practice. If a guy's rebelling during practice, arguing with his coach, no, I want to wear my shorts, this, that, you've gone to a different dimension at that point.
I think practice is when you argue with your coach, Jack. Those are the times when you argue with your coach, not on the sideline during the game. How's that? I think just totally opposite you think. I think that's the time you do argue with your coach, because that's the time that not everybody's looking at you. That's not during the game. How many times have we seen players go yelling at the offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators, CeeDee Lamb having a meltdown? I'll tell you right now, the more that CeeDee Lamb, now he's got paid, he talks a lot. I wish he would stop talking, because he's the greatest thing since sliced bread in his opinion.
But these guys, some of them take accountability.
He's a typical diva. And I thought
most wide receivers are prima donna.
I thought CeeDee Lamb was better than that, is what I'm saying. He was a lot better.
CeeDee Lamb criticized himself after the game. He said he was out of line. They got me
the ball. That's why we won. He said that after the game too. They got me the ball. That's why we won. It didn't do with anybody else.
Well, was he wrong? Sometimes these guys are right. They got it in there.
I think Dallas defense played pretty good, and I think the running game was okay, decent. Anyway,
by the way, we mentioned on the show, Mercury Morris a week ago passed away, and Mercury Morris was with the Dolphin team that lost to the Cowboys 24-3 in the Super Bowl. Then they came back and won the next couple of years in the Super Bowl. And when they lost to the Cowboys 24-3, Mercury Morris complained after the game. He complained about Don Shula's strategy. He said, it's a shame what I could have been doing for my team had they gotten me the ball. So he kind of complained when it was all over. He didn't have a fit on the sidelines. But he was probably right. They wouldn't have won the game, the Dolphins. They wouldn't have beaten the Cowboys no matter what.
Imagine Mercury Morris going to Don Shula and complaining during the game, Jack. It would have been all over. It would have been off the team. There's no doubt. Dwayne Thomas was a problem child too, Jack, for the Dallas Cowboys. But during the game, you're not going to go up and yell at Tom Landry. So, you just didn't do that. Not staying in the Miami Dolphins, not staying at Dallas.
No, listen, Odell Beckham Jr. would have fits on the Giants sideline.
He shouldn't have been
Tom Coughlin kept him in the game.
I also saw Tom Coughlin take him out of the game too, Jack. I saw that too. So it did happen. And I agree with you. He did keep in the game a couple times. He got soft. What can I tell you? He got soft. Folks, that's it. They're at the top of the hour. Thanks for joining us on the Big Football Show. We got the NFL Download Show tonight at 7, as we'll get you up to date on all the games. Kind of a watch along. Join us there if you would. We have Jeremy B coming in, the Detroit podcaster that was on last week. He'll be looking forward to the Monday night game, and we'll have a talk with him. So have a great Sunday. Enjoy your games, and as always, I hope your team wins. Have a good one.